All right, when you cut glass, we're actually breaking it, but before we do anything, the first thing you need to do is put safety glasses on. I actually used a tissue to make sure the old pair that I grabbed from the box on the table is nice and dust-free. This here is a scoring tool, which means it's going to draw the line where I want to cut it. So let's say I want to cut off this little jagged edge. I can use a ruler, or I can just try to eyeball it, making this noise. Listen to this. It's making that sort of ripping noise. Now you might not be able to see it on the board. I'm going to angle it so you can kind of see the score mark. Sometimes you might not be able to see it, but when I did this, I held the tool at a little bit of an angle straight down in this direction, cutting towards me. Now I'm not going to actually cut it, I'm going to break it, and this is the breaking tool. Notice here's the bottom, and I know that this is the top because there's a line on here. In order for me to break this, I need this line to align with my score extending. So when I add and I squeeze, I'm going to break it just like that. So if I, again, just to show you, this was my score line, and this line is extending that score line. Now let's see if I make a curve like this here. I'm going to make a random curve. Now, the same thing, if I hold it like this, I'm not sure it's going to work because even though this is aligning here, I'm missing this end. So what I want to do is I'm going to angle this so that this line is where the start is, going in that direction. So I'm going to click here and squeeze, and that actually is a very nice clean break. Now the last thing is I'm not able to make circles. Let me just make some little skinny cuts. Now let's say I just want a really skinny edge here. I'm going to do this. Let's see here. I can go there. This might work, but it might be too small. So I'm going to break that, and it actually worked. But if you start to try to cut smaller than this, this is not going to have enough to grip onto it. So I'm going to show you the nipper tools next. But just be aware, you're always cutting over this waffle mat at this back table because there's little shards of glass that fall into this here. We don't want to get that on our table because any student could like accidentally wipe their hand and pick up shards and cut themselves, and I don't know how you get that out of your hand. So that is the scoring tool and the breaking tool. I'll do it one more time. Let's say I want to make a couple more cuts. And one thing you do not want to do, let's say you do a score and you can't see it, don't go back and forth like that. That's the best way to create a bunch of glass shards, and then sometimes if I try to break it, it might not know which line to break onto. So that is a do not do. And you might even be able to see all the shards. If I zoom in here, let me see. You can see all the little shards in there. So that's what you do not want to do. So that is the scoring and breaking tool.